Chapter 151, The Great Mystery Scripture of the Void. Within the Tao Shen Alliance, in terms of strength, our Taishu sect ranks somewhere between 10th and 15th. The white-haired old man kneeling on the ground had a fierce look on his face, and his eyes flashed red. He said, "But the entire Tao Shen Alliance, including the Ice Extreme Immortal sect, no one dares to touch the Taishu sect in the slightest. Why is that? Isn't it because you, ancestor, are the best in the world, and no one can rival you? I am your eldest disciple." Wu Wei's voice grew louder and louder, as if he wanted to argue with Taishu, saying, "I have followed you the longest and heard the most of your teachings. My junior brothers and sisters may not know how terrifying you are, but I do. You often say that your disciple is greedy by nature." Wu Wei raised his head, then stood up on his own and said, "But Master, in this world, who is not greedy? The way of heaven is to take from those who have too much and give to those who have too little. The way of man is to take from the poor to give to the rich. We cultivators have always fought against the heavens, surviving 9 deaths and 1 life. If we didn't have a greedy heart and everyone was indifferent to fame and fortune, how could there be so many nascent soul and golden core cultivators in this world? For so many years, your disciple has served you with utmost care, and now, are you still not going to pass on the great mystery scripture of the great void? If you think your disciple is dull-witted, you may pass it on to the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th son. Now that they've come up with this thing, do these mere chi refining stage ants really think they can rely on it to maintain the safety of the Taishu sect?" As he spoke, Wu Wei angrily pointed his finger at He Pingsheng. He Pingsheng was startled. "Holy crap, what does this have to do with me?" The Grandmaster Taishu kept his eyes on his eldest disciple. It was very calm. There was no anger, no disappointment, and no other emotion. He was frighteningly calm. That concludes the discussion on non-action. The air itself seemed to freeze. After a dozen or so breaths, Taishu finally asked in a hoarse voice, "Are you finished?" "I understand. That girl Jianzhu came for my treasure, but you came for the great mysterious scripture. This disciple deserves to die." Wu Wei said, "This disciple is thinking of the eternal future of my Taishu sect. If Master is willing to pass on the great mysterious scripture, this disciple can swear an oath to heaven that when my lifespan is about to end, I will also pass on this great mysterious scripture according to Master's method." Wu Wei spoke humbly, but his attitude was extremely arrogant. He stood there, looking directly at the Taishu ancestor. "Give me this entire great mystic scripture now." Wu Wei's eyes gleamed with greed. This disciple has a 30% chance of advancing to the nascent soul stage. "Father, 30% is not low. Who in this world can guarantee that they can be promoted to the nascent soul stage?" He Pingsheng was startled again. "Holy crap, how come Master has turned into Dad again? Could this guy be the ancestor's biological son? My God, it might really be true. If he weren't her own son, how could he be so arrogant?" The Grandmaster Taishu took a deep breath, then exhaled deeply, and said, "You can't refine this." Wu Wei immediately flew into a rage. "You couldn't refine it either, so how did you manage to refine it in the end?" As he spoke, he pointed angrily at He Pingsheng. "I have the medicinal ingredients, so why can't I refine it? Father, pass it on to me. Can you send it to me?" Wu Wei ran to the feet of the Grand Ancestor Taishu, grabbed his feet with both hands, and said, "Don't worry, sir, give me this great mysterious scripture, and I will find you a disciple with exceptional talent to possess. Don't you want to live another 1,000 or 10,000 years?" Taishu Chi's heart surged with emotion, and he shook his head, saying, "I don't want to." "But I want to." Wu Wei said longingly, "Son, I'm almost 500 years old, and my lifespan is coming to an end. Father, please save me." The old man exerted a slight force on his leg. With a bang, Wu Wei's enormous body was kicked away from the entrance of the Taishu temple. Rumble. The array formations of the Taishu Divine Palace closed in sequence. He Pingsheng inside the house was so scared he wet himself. "I really peed." The conversation between the father and son today contained a wealth of information. The kind that could scare him to death. Holy crap! How did I become the catalyst for this medicine? What exactly is this great mysterious scripture of the great void? Why would a father rather die than pass on his inheritance to his son? Also, you won't possess me, will you? Let's go. Ancestor Taishu stood up and said, "Come with me to the back. Time is running out." He Pingxing felt ice cold all over. He felt that he was the one whose time was running out. Unreliable, unreliable. Ancestor Taishu returned to the giant tree in the spirit plant garden, comfortably lay on the recliner, closed his eyes, and said, "Young he, tell me, what is the future of the Taishu sect?" "Where is the future?" There has been no response from He Pingxing for a long time. The gaunt old man turned his head, slightly opened his squinting eyes, and said, "What nonsense are you thinking about? Don't listen to that bastard's words. If I wanted to possess someone's body all these years ago, I would have done so long ago. It's not your turn." "Yes." He Pingxing seemed relieved, but a knot remained in his heart. "I think." He Pingxing said, "I don't know what the future holds, I can't figure it out." He Pingxing wasn't lying. He simply had never considered the entire Taishu sect's problems from such a high perspective before. It's already difficult enough to consider Xiaozhu Peak, let alone Taishu sect? I have absolutely no idea. My dear reader, there's more to, even more exciting content awaits. He. If you can't understand it, neither can I, said the Grand Ancestor Taishu. These people were all personally trained by me, but they either turned out to be ungrateful wretches or are completely unreliable. If the Taishu sect wants to last, it still needs disciples like you. You guys can worry about these things, I'm not going to care. Why do you look so worried? Taishu asked. What are you thinking about? He Pingxing cupped his hands in a gesture of respect. This disciple is afraid. What are you afraid of? I'm afraid of dying. He Pingxing took a deep breath. If you don't pass on this great mystery scripture of the void to him now, one day after you pass away, he will definitely think that you passed it on to me. I can't imagine what I will do then. Life is but 100 years, yet worries last 1,000. The Grandmaster Taishu waved his hand. I have my own arrangements for this, so you don't need to worry about it. Come here and continue learning formations. What's the most important thing about a formation? Enough. Taishu slumped back onto the recliner with a thud and said, I'm not in the mood to talk anymore. Let me tell you about the Taishu great profound scripture instead. Do you know why I didn't pass it on to him? He Pingxing shook his head. Taishu said, it's because he really can't cultivate. The great mysterious scripture of the great void is a cultivation method without any attributes, outside the 5 elements, and perfectly conventional. Ordinary cultivators cannot control this kind of attribute-less cultivation technique. He Pingxing was immediately puzzled. A cultivation technique without attributes? Is that for people without spiritual roots? Taishu shook his head and said, of course not. Chapter 152 The Perfect Plan. You're so foolish. Elder Taishu said, how can someone without spiritual roots possibly cultivate? Actually, this great mysterious scripture of the void was created by a cultivator with 5 elemental spiritual roots. Upon hearing this, He Pingxing trembled again. 5 elements spiritual root? Isn't that me? The so-called attribute-less cultivation technique is like the void spiritual root of the Ice Extreme sect. Taishu, unaware of He Pingxing's unusual behavior, continued to explain, the void spiritual root does not mean there is no spiritual root, but rather that his spiritual root is formless and shapeless. Formless and shapeless means it has countless forms and appearances. You can cultivate any attribute technique within the 5 elements, including metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, but you are not limited to metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. But the great mysterious scripture passed down by our Taishu sect is exactly the opposite. He is a cultivator with all 5 elements, first achieving myriad forms and appearances, and finally returning to simplicity, transforming into formlessness and intangibility. By using the Great Void Mystery Scripture, any cultivation technique of any attribute can be executed. Naturally, by using the Great Void Mystery Scripture, Any spell or supernatural power of any attribute can also be executed without hindrance. And there are absolutely no discounts. He Pingsheng was deeply shaken. He has basic knowledge of cultivation techniques. For example, these spells have different attributes, but it's not necessary to use spiritual power of a certain attribute to cast them. For example, He Pingsheng's spell, Diamond Shield, can be opened using golden spiritual power. Similarly, even without a metal spiritual root, one can still create a shield to defend oneself using earth, wood, fire, and water spiritual power. The problem is that the defensive performance of a shield created using other spiritual energy will be compromised. The discount varies in size. The smaller one can have 90% of the original attribute's defense power. However, if it becomes weak, especially if it is a special divine power that is not suitable for other attributes to operate, it may only be able to exert 10% of its function. The difference is like heaven and earth. Therefore, since the gains do not outweigh the losses, few cultivators attempt to cultivate supernatural powers or spells outside of their own attributes. But if, as the ancestor said, one successfully refines this great void mystery scripture, it will be incredibly powerful. Once this thing is crafted, it can neutralize your cultivation techniques, rendering them attribute-free. Then, by using attribute-less spiritual energy to perform spells and supernatural powers, one can change one's original attributes. He Pingsheng frowned and said, "Ancestor, isn't this unnecessary?" Taishu asked, "Why do you say that?" He Pingsheng said, 5 elemental spiritual root cultivators possess 5 spiritual roots, which allows them to control all elemental supernatural powers and spells. Why would they need to transform? Hehehe. Ancestor Taishu chuckled and said, "Not all 5 elements cultivators can be as abnormal as you. When cultivating, they advance all 5 elements at the same time. Most people only focus on one element." He Pingsheng immediately understood. It's true that we often overlook things that are right in front of us, which has become a habitual way of thinking. You might ask, why can I cultivate even though I don't have the 5 elements of spiritual roots? Ancestor Taishu answered himself, it's because this cultivation method is extremely domineering. If you don't have the 5 elements of spiritual roots and want to cultivate it, you have to find a cultivator with the 5 elements of spiritual roots and devour their spiritual roots. This is the path I have walked. After cultivating, I even changed my Daoist name to the 2 characters Tai Shu. He Pingsheng felt a chill run down his spine. Damn it. No wonder that bastard Wu Wei Daoist said I was a medicinal ingredient. Wu Wei covets my cultivation technique not because of its formless and shapeless power, said the Grand Ancestor Taishu. This Taishu great profound scripture possesses another heaven-defying power. However, I cannot tell you. Go. The old man waved his hand. I need to cultivate in seclusion these days. You go and break through to the 12th level of the Qi refining stage first. Return to your own dojo. He Pingsheng was no longer in the mood for cultivation. His whole body was numb. What happened today was truly terrifying. A medicinal guide. Someone wants to devour my 5 elements spiritual roots. This damn inaction. And this old man Taishu, is he good or bad, and what are his schemes against me? Don't be fooled by his smiling, kind and benevolent appearance. You can know a person's face but not their heart. Who knows what is really thinking? Don't forget Luoyu. And this old man is really amazing. They could tell at a glance that I cultivate all 5 elements. They even know I've already received news about the red essence ginseng, otherwise why would they urge me to break through to the 12th level? Thinking about these things, He Pingsheng couldn't sleep and was restless. Being completely controlled by others and having no autonomy at all is truly unbearable. He Pingsheng now has only one thought, to escape. Run. Far away. Run as far as you can. I have a treasure trove, I don't need your little bit of resources, and I don't need your pointing fingers. Isn't it better to cultivate myself? At this moment, He Pingsheng had a second idea for leaving the Taishu sect. However, leaving Taishu sect is not so easy. After all, the ancestor is watching. If I anger the ancestor and he devours or possesses me in an instant, who will I turn to? Calm. Calm, stay calm. I need a perfect plan. Bang! He Pingxing tilted his head back and lay down on the pink futon, his mind starting to make plans. First, we need to understand one thing. Just how far can the divine sense of an old man in the nascent soul stage extend? My dear reader, there's more to, even more exciting content awaits. In other words, how far do I have to go to escape this old man's surveillance? The next moment, He Pingxing sprang up from the futon with a somersault and took out the jade slip with a wave of his hand. Miscellaneous notes on cultivation. There should be a record of this thing in the miscellaneous records of cultivation. He Pingxing infiltrated it with his divine sense and began to examine it. After searching for a full half-incense stick's time, I finally found it. According to records in the miscellaneous records of cultivation, under normal circumstances, a cultivator's divine sense will increase as their cultivation level improves. During the qi refining stage, the range of one's divine sense, from low to high level, is approximately 10 to 60 zhong. Upon reaching the foundation establishment stage, one's divine sense will increase dramatically. At the first level of foundation establishment, one's divine sense can reach 100 feet. That's right, it's 100 zhong, and 100 zhong is also the minimum spiritual strength required to fly on a sword. He Pingxing's spiritual sense has now reached 120 zhong, because he cultivates the mysterious gate tranquility true technique to refine his spirit. Otherwise, how could there be 120 zhong? At the peak of the foundation establishment stage, the range of one's divine sense is approximately 5 to 600 feet. And so on. The range of divine sense of a golden core stage cultivator is between 1,000 and 6,000 zhong. The range of a nascent soul cultivator's divine sense is approximately 10,000 to 60,000 zhong. Hiss, hiss, hiss. He Pingxing gasped. The ancestor was at the 9th level of the nascent soul stage, and his divine sense was probably around 40,000 to 50,000 zhong. It doesn't sound very far. But when you do the math, it's astonishing. 1 li is equivalent to 150 zhong. 10 li equals 1,500 zhong. 100 li is only 15,000 zhong. Damn it! The ancestor's divine sense was 50,000 zhong, which is 3 or 400 li. Chapter 153 Seeking Scriptures. The Taishu sect is vast. It has about 10 mountain peaks. From front to back, and from left to right, it is nearly 100 miles long. The Taishu sect is only 100 li away, but the ancestor's divine sense can travel 300 li. Just thinking about this concept made He Pingxing feel numb. Moreover, this cultivation record states that the divine sense of a nascent soul stage cultivator can not only sweep far, but also silently penetrate formations, walls, and so on. I glance at you, and you know nothing about it. He Pingxing became increasingly alarmed as he thought about it. He wondered if the ancestor had spied on him when he used the treasure basin to enhance items. Never mind. Regardless of whether my ancestor had spied on me before, I will never again use the treasure basin to enhance any item. Unless our ancestor passes away. Also, how can we escape? At the current speed of flying on a sword, can it travel 2,000 miles in an hour? 3,000 miles? He Pingxing didn't know the exact amount. However, in any case, to leave Taishu sect, one must travel by sword for at least a long time. This amount of time is enough for the ancestor to crush himself 10 times over. The miscellaneous records of cultivation states that once a cultivator reaches the nascent soul stage, their spiritual root can evolve into a Tao root, allowing them to communicate with heaven and earth and comprehend the power of rules. They can teleport thousands of feet in an instant. You can fly for half a day, but someone can catch up with you in the blink of an eye. How do I get there? Disguise? He Pingxing did have an enhanced disguise talisman. However, it's still unknown whether this thing can be hidden from even the foundation establishment stage, let alone the nascent soul stage. If only I had an invisibility talisman. He Pingxing kept thinking about it, and then a flash of inspiration struck him. He first took out the huge gourd and poured out 2 portions of the golden bee elixir. Not much, only 2 drops in each portion. This is to repay Shu Kunlun and Zhao Linga for their hard work and danger in finding the red essence ginseng for me. With a whoosh, he flew out of Jade Dragon Peak, where the Taishu Divine Palace was located, and landed on Shouju Peak a dozen breaths later. Thank you, junior brother. Thank you, junior brother. The two were overjoyed after receiving the items. I have great news for you. Zhao Linga said with a smile. Chen Xiaoqing has advanced to the foundation establishment stage. Now, we've all reached the foundation establishment stage. Ninth brother, when are you planning to break through? He Pingxing thought for a moment and said, let's do it soon. Senior sister, I have a favor to ask of you, he pleaded, looking at Zhao Linga. Zhao Linga laughed. With our relationship, there's no need for any begging or asking. Tell me, junior brother, what is it? He Pingxing thought for a moment and said, as you know, I've been confined by the ancestor and can't leave this Taishu sect. So, could you make a trip to Qianfu Mountain for me? He. Zhao Linga chuckled, revealing 2 rows of pearly white teeth, and said with a hint of teasing, so, junior brother is thinking about his wife. He. You've grown up. As she spoke, her gaze slowly moved down from He Pingxing's face. He Pingxing said awkwardly, senior sister, please don't be like this. I have something important to do. I understand, it's important. Zhao Linga said, what is it? Tell me. He Pingxing said, after you arrive at Qianfu Mountain, when you see senior sister Qiao, tell her that I was confined by my master, and then, ask her if she has any talismans that can make you invisible or conceal your aura. Of course, the higher the level, the better. Have her figure out a way to get me one. I'll thank her later. Zhao Linga asked, is that all? He Pingxing nodded, that's it. Okay. Zhao Linga said, I know, you have to keep it a secret, right? Zhao Linga made a trip for He Pingxing. The result was very disappointing. No. Qiao Huizhu said, there is a 3rd grade, 100 concealment talisman, that can conceal one's aura after use, and even golden core cultivators will not be able to detect it. However, only cultivators at the golden core stage can draw such talismans. That's not the main point. The main point is that this talisman requires a very special rare and precious material, and this material cannot be obtained in a short time. She said she would collect the drawings carefully and send them over as soon as they were completed. He Pingxing breathed a sigh of relief. The good news is, there is hope. If I can deceive a golden core cultivator, then by strengthening myself, I can surely deceive a nascent soul cultivator, right? The bad news is, we don't know how long we'll have to wait. Never mind. Let's break through first. Worrying about it all the time isn't a good thing. He Pingxing took out the red essence ginseng. Without any enhancement, I simply washed it and swallowed it. A powerful aura surged from his lower abdomen into his dantian, and then, guided by the cultivation technique, flowed from his dantian into his meridians. As the energy within his meridians circulated wildly, this boundless energy transformed into a powerful force, like a river flowing into the sea, crashing to the ground. An invisible and intangible barrier within He Pingxing's body was opened. Qi refining stage 12. Here we come. I've reached the 12th level of Qi refining. The next step is to break through the foundation establishment stage. It's very simple. He Pingxing has top-grade foundation establishment pills. These 2 top-grade foundation establishment pills were used to strengthen him before he became Taishu's disciple. However, he dared not take it out to eat. No rush. These 2 pills should absolutely not be used unless absolutely necessary. Go and cultivate something else first. The first thing to do is to bring up the remaining 4 dantian. The old man already knows about this, so there's no need to hide it. In addition to these, one must also cultivate one's spirit and body. Therefore, He Pingxing was not in a hurry to establish his foundation. Time passed slowly, and the Grandmaster Taishu made no move. He Pingxing usually hid in the side hall of Taishu to cultivate. Every 3 to 5 days, he would go to the Taishu Divine Hall to listen to teachings and comprehend the formations. About a year passed like this. He Pingxing was then able to create a first-grade array plate. Your comprehension is quite good, said the Grand Ancestor Taishu. To be able to create a first-grade array in a year is much better than what I did back then. He Pingxing quickly offered a flattering remark. It's all thanks to your excellent teaching, Master. Don't flatter me. Let's go, there are more people coming up ahead. He pointed to the Taishu temple ahead. The two entered the main hall from the plant garden. One by one, the array formations in front of the main hall were activated. A familiar figure walked in. He Pingxing had met this person before. He was the ancestor who led them to the secret realm to participate in the trial, the golden core Xianxia. Greetings, Master. Xianxia bowed to the ancestor. The old ancestor nodded and asked, "What would you like to order today?" Over the past year, almost every disciple of the Patriarch has come to us, asking for either a magic weapon, a cultivation technique, or spirit stones. Everyone thought the Patriarch wouldn't live much longer, and everyone wanted to take as much as possible. The Grand Elder, however, was inactive and never came again after that. He. Xianxia chuckled and said, "This disciple would like to ask junior brother for something." Oh. Taishu asked, "What do you want?" Xianxia looked at He Pingxing. "Junior brother, could I practice your spirit refining technique? I, cough cough cough. I also want to strengthen my own divine sense." He Pingxing was surprised. "So you've come to me seeking scriptures." Chapter 154 Foundation Building R. Grandmaster Taishu waved his hand. "It's good that you're not looking for me. You two go. Your problems are your own to resolve. I will not participate." He Pingxing and Xianxia then walked out of the main hall. He, junior brother. Xianxia said, "It's truly remarkable." He Pingxing said, "Yes, back then I traveled to the secret realm on your grand ship. Now, we're practically brothers. Let's go, let's go." The two entered the side hall. He Pingxing took out 2 books. The first book, The True Secrets of Tranquilizing the Mind in the Mysterious School. The second book, Heavenly Demon Seed Divine Technique. "Which one do you want to repair?" He Pingxing asked Xianxia. Both of these training methods have their own advantages and disadvantages. Of the profound secrets of the Xianmen, Taoist school, for calming the mind, He Pingxing only copied 3 chapters: the Qi Refining chapter, the Foundation Building chapter, and the Golden Elixir chapter. The benefit is the Xianmen martial arts technique. The Demon Seed Divine Technique of that day is a demonic cultivation method, but its advantage is that it is relatively complete, with 4 chapters, including an additional chapter on nascent soul. This one. Xianxia stretched out his withered hand and took the Xianmen Tranquility Manual in his hand. "I'm afraid I'll never be able to break through to the nascent soul stage in my lifetime. So 3 articles are enough." Oh. He Pingxing said, "Okay, senior brother, wait a moment, let me copy it for you, and then I'll personally deliver it to you in a couple of days, okay?" The copy in He Pingxing's hand is not complete. When he was copying it, he deliberately made a few mistakes. The purpose is to ensure that even if someone obtains it, they cannot repair it. But now that Xianxia has come to seek the scriptures, He Pingxing doesn't intend to trick him anymore, because He Pingxing has a fairly good impression of Xianxia. "All right," Xianxia said, "then I'll have to trouble you, junior brother." He. "Thank you, junior brother. From now on, if you encounter any trouble within the Taishu sect, as long as it's something I, Xianxia, can resolve, just say the word." Xianxia is an elder of the Internal Affairs Hall. The Internal Affairs Hall wields considerable power, overseeing the entire Taishu sect's treasury, mineral resources, and the allocation of resources for its disciples. Of course, Xianxia's strength should not be underestimated. "Senior brother," He Pingxing asked, "what happened after the incident with the Hu family? I heard you intervened." He. Xianxia chuckled and said, "Of course we'll kill him. Otherwise, why would we keep him around for the new year?" Destroyed. He Pingxing was very surprised and said, "Even the beast taming sect was destroyed. What are you thinking?" Xianxia Daoist rolled his eyes at He Pingxing. "The beast taming sect has 2 nascent soul cultivators and a 4th grade protective formation. Do you think we, a few mere golden core cultivators, can be wiped out by them?" I'm referring to the Hu family. The beast-taming sect has pinned all the blame on the Hu family. Since that's the case, we won't hold back and will wipe out the entire Hu family in an instant. Hey, speaking of which, the Hu family are actually descendants of our senior brother. Senior brother? He Pingxing asked. Which senior brother? Xianxia said. Dead. He was much older than senior brother. He was a disciple that Master took in when he was in the Foundation establishment stage. He's been dead for 700 or 800 years. However, junior brother, I still have to give you a heads up. Xianxia said, although we have destroyed the Hu family, the beast-taming sect should not be underestimated. You'd better be careful if you encounter any disciples of the beast-taming sect in the future. After saying that, Xianxia added, we have a grudge against them. A grudge? He Pingxing asked. Is it deep? Xianxia said, the hatred runs as deep as the sea. Our two sects are very close to each other, and we once fought over a spirit stone mine. As you know, when our master was young, he was known as the #1 person in the entire Dao Shen alliance. Back then, he killed the supreme elder of the beast-taming sect, who was also at the nascent soul stage, with a single move. The dispute over this spirit stone mine has finally come to an end, and it now belongs to our Taishu sect. Although our ancestor was invincible, times have changed. The descendants of the beast-taming sect are much more promising than us. They produced 2 nascent soul cultivators in one go. They are currently wary of the patriarch and dare not act rashly, but one can imagine what will happen once Master ascends to immortality. Well, at that time, there will definitely be bloodshed. Xianxia is gone. He Pingxing had a certain understanding of the beast-taming sect. After seeing Xianxia off, He Pingxing personally copied the first 3 chapters of the True Secrets of Tranquil Mind in the Mysterious Sect, along with the general outline, and sent them to him. The following days were uneventful. He Pingxing lived in fear for another 2 years, but still found no sign that the Grandmaster Taishu wanted to possess him. He once thought that Taishu did not have this idea. However, a wise person does not stand under a dangerous wall. He Pingxing still sketched out a perfect escape plan in his mind every day. However, Qiao Huizhu's 100 Concealment Talisman has yet to arrive. We can't wait any longer. Breakthrough. Because He Pingxing had cultivated all 5 dantians to the 12th level of the Qi refining stage, whether it was refining the spirit, refining the body, or the 5 dantians. In the side hall, He Pingxing reached out and took out a Foundation Establishment pill. Quality. Top grade. He obtained this Foundation Establishment pill from Elder Xianxia. Giving this old bastard a heaven-ranked divine refining technique isn't unreasonable for him to ask for a Foundation Establishment stage cultivation. As for the top-grade Foundation Establishment pill, he did not take it out. Under the watchful eye of the Patriarch, He Pingxing dared not take it out. Let's try using a high-quality Foundation building pill first. What if we break through? My dear reader, there's more to, even more exciting content awaits. He opened his mouth and swallowed the Foundation Establishment pill. He then began to frantically circulate the true fire refining technique to refine the infinite energy within the pill. Under his guidance, these energies surged like waves, relentlessly assaulting an unseen constraint within his body. 1 time. 2. 3 times. Then it all became clear. The shackles were broken. Foundation Establishment stage. Here we come. I've reached the first level of the Foundation Establishment stage. He Pingxing opened his eyes in surprise. He felt that everything around him was different. His spiritual power increased. Logically speaking, an ordinary disciple at the first level of the Foundation Establishment stage can have a divine sense that can reach 100 feet. But now, He Pingxing's divine sense has actually reached a strength of 300 feet. It feels so strong. Hehehe. It actually worked. He Pingxing almost thought he was dreaming. He pinched his thigh hard. Hiss hiss hiss. It's not a dream. Foundation Establishment stage. A realm that countless Qi refining stage cultivators dream of. Putting everything else aside, once you reach the Foundation Establishment stage, your lifespan can double. If you are not afflicted by a calamity, even if you never make another breakthrough in this life, you can still live peacefully to around 200 years old. This feeling is just wonderful. You've broken through. Just as He Pingsheng was overjoyed, the voice of the Grand Ancestor Taishu suddenly appeared. Perfect, you've reached the foundation establishment stage. Come and try with me to see if you can make a grade 2 array plate. He Pingsheng's face immediately fell. Good heavens! You found out about my breakthrough so quickly? The key question is, how did your voice travel from so far away? Chapter 155 Reform and Innovation. Congratulations. The old man, unusually, did not lie down in the chair. He stood under the old tree. The old tree stands tall and straight. The old man's body was hunched over, and from a distance, he looked like an insect molting. What does it feel like to break through to the foundation establishment stage? He turned his head gently, looked at He Pingsheng, and asked a question. He Pingsheng wore a simple and honest expression, then vigorously stroked his hair. This disciple can't quite explain it, but I'm very happy that my lifespan has increased. That's what makes you happy, Taishu said. Isn't the purpose of fighting against the heavens to achieve immortality? Immortality is great. Once you reach the golden core stage, you will have a lifespan of 500 years. Once you reach the nascent soul stage like me, you can enjoy a lifespan of 1,000 years. Come here, come here. I'm asking you, you're a spirit refining cultivator. Now that you've broken through to the foundation establishment stage, has your divine sense reached 300 feet? He Pingsheng was startled and said, Master's calculations are truly divine, it is indeed 300 feet. Enough. The old man nodded, reached out and took out a piece of array material, tossed it to He Pingsheng, and said, Remember the second grade, spirit gathering array, that I gave you some time ago? Inscribe its array plate for me. Let me see your skill. Why? He Pingsheng dared not be negligent and immediately sat down cross-legged to carefully inscribe the array plate. The array plate is the core of the entire array. Once the array plate is inscribed, it can be combined with the array spirit stones, various array materials and array flags to form a perfect spirit gathering array. The inscription of the array plate accounts for more than 80% of the work in the entire spirit gathering array. Inscribing array plates involves using divine thought as a guide and drawing runes as a medium to inscribe them on the material. Once the runes circle around the entire body and the spiritual energy on them can circulate on its own, the inscription is considered successful. He Pingsheng sat in the spiritual plant garden and kept trying things out. About 7 or 8 days later, the array plate buzzed and flashed, and a beam of light shot out. It's done. Good. The old ancestor smiled and said, Good, good. With the array plate, you can set up some simple second-grade arrays. Indeed, this talent far surpasses mine. Cultivators with the 5-element spiritual roots, aside from their slower cultivation speed, have every advantage of timing and location. Come with me. The old man, with his hands behind his back and his hunched back, slowly walked toward the massive hall. He Pingsheng carried a 2-foot-long array plate and followed closely behind. Upon arriving at the Taishu Divine Palace, the old man waved his hand, and the dozen or so layers of light membranes outside the palace appeared one by one. There are 17 array formations outside my main hall. But most of them are only 3rd-grade formations, which are not very useful. There are 3 4th-grade formations in total. Take a close look. The Grand Ancestor Taishu took out 3 tokens. One is a 4th-grade defensive array, one is a 4th-grade divine suppressing array, and one is a 4th-grade illusion array. The defensive array can prevent nascent soul stage cultivators from entering the main hall, while the divine suppression array can block the divine senses of nascent soul stage cultivators from entering the main hall. As for the illusion array, I have hardly ever activated it. Once activated, it can hide the entire Taishu Palace, making it invisible and intangible from the outside. He Pingsheng was shocked and said, It's really that amazing. Ancestor Taishu chuckled, What's so magical about it? It's just some deceptive tricks. You have now entered the ranks of 2nd-grade array masters. Although you cannot set up or break this 4th-grade array yet, you can control it without any pressure. Take a look at the signs for these 3 large formations. They contain key points about controlling the formations. From now on, you will be free to come and go from the Taishu Divine Palace. Oh! Ancestor Taishu waved his hand again, and, whoever you want to come in, you can let in, whoever you want to keep out, you can keep out. Yes, Master. He Pingxing accepted the 3 plaques. The Grandmaster Taishu continued, don't leave yet, I have other arrangements to make for you. This is my token. A dark, iron token was tossed into He Pingxing's hand. The old man continued, take this token and go to Xianxia's place. Summon all the Golden Core stage disciples and announce something.
Come.
Junior brother. This is a rare and precious brew that I've treasured for many years. Please have a taste. It is beneficial to spiritual practice. He Pingxing reached for the cup and took a sip. Hiss hiss hiss. It's so spicy. I thought it was spiritual tea, but you fucking gave me alcohol. Xianxia looked at He Pingxing's expression and laughed heartily. Drink it, it's all right. I've already sent my disciples to notify them one by one. They'll all be here in a little while. As soon as he finished speaking, a streak of pink light shot through the clouds and landed at the entrance of Xianxia's main hall. It was none other than Zhu. A few breaths later, Daoist Chongyang, Elder Hong, and Daoist Wu Wei landed one by one at the entrance of the main hall. The group entered and took their seats according to the order of host and guest. What is it? Wu Wei's expression was unfriendly, and his tone was rather harsh. Third brother, what's the meaning of summoning us in such a hurry? Among the disciples of the Grandmaster of the Void, Wu Wei is the eldest, Elder Hong is the second, Xianxia is the third, Chongyang is the fourth, and Zhu is the youngest. Of course, if you count them, He Pingxing is the 6th oldest. However, the Grandmaster Taishu did not only have these 6 disciples. Legend has it that there were more than a dozen before Wu Wei. There were a total of 70 or 80 disciples. However, 80% to 90% of them died when their lifespan was exhausted during the Qi refining stage. Some, even after reaching the foundation establishment stage, cannot withstand the test of time and disappear. In the end, only a few people remained. Heaven is merciless, even to this extent. Xianxia said, I don't know either. Master has something to say. Junior brother, what did Master say? You can announce it to everyone. Yes. He Pingxing stood up, took out the black iron token given to him by the Taishu ancestor, waved it in his hand, and said, Master said that I should inform several senior brothers and sisters that the sect will make some adjustments to some places. The crowd cupped their hands and said, yes. Zhu asked, how do I adjust it? He Pingxing said, from this day forward, every year and every month, the salaries and resources of you disciples will be reduced by 80%. What? Nonsense. What are you talking about in your sleep? If you cut off 80% of it, how are we supposed to survive? Grass. One by one, the Golden Core cultivators stood up from their seats. Without exception. He Pingxing remained remarkably calm, saying, Senior brothers and sisters, please calm down. Our master has said that the Taishu sect has long oppressed lower-level disciples. Now is the time for reform and renewal. Wu Wei cursed loudly. That old bastard. This isn't reform and innovation. It's revolutionizing my life. He doesn't need to cut my pay by 80%. I'm going to find him right now and have him slap me to death. Chapter 156 Intimidation. He Pingxing had no chance to interrupt. He had to stop halfway through his sentence. Looking at the angry faces of these people, He Pingxing suddenly felt a sense of relief for some reason. They argued for a while, then stopped. Xianxia turned to look at He Pingxing and asked, let's stop discussing this for now, junior brother. Is there anything else? He Pingxing nodded, yes. Wu Wei, fuming, exclaimed, why didn't you say so sooner? He Pingxing ignored him and raised the sign again, saying, Master said that the 80% of resources cut from you will all be used on the lower-level disciples. From today onwards, the Taishu sect will open its doors wide and select outstanding disciples from the outer sect to enter. Each mountain peak must absorb a large number of disciples. Wu Wei was furious again. What kind of nonsense is this? Opening up the sect to all sorts of lowly people. Where is the Taishu sect going to find a place for quiet cultivation? No, I don't agree. No, that's not right. As he spoke, Wu Wei stared at Yipingxing. Junior brother, this isn't some fake imperial edict you fabricated, is it? Yipingxing gave a bitter smile. Senior brother, do you think I have the guts? Wu Wei said, that's hard to say. I'll go ask the old man first. In a flash, Wu Wei transformed into a beam of light and headed towards Jade Dragon Peak. The other golden core cultivators also left, leaving Yipingxing, the messenger, behind in the internal affairs hall. Yipingxing could only throw out his flying sword and fly to Jade Dragon Peak on his own. Now that he has advanced to the Foundation establishment stage, his sword-wielding speed has increased several times over. When Yipingxing arrived at the Taishu Divine Palace, it was already in an uproar. The Grandmaster Taishu looked like a pitiful old man, sitting alone in a huge golden armchair, his hands covering his ears, turning a deaf ear to the quarrels of his disciples. After a while, perhaps the disciples got tired of arguing. Taishu removed his hands from his ears and said, "Are you all tired of arguing? Can I speak now?" Wu Wei Dao, speak. Taishu said, Young He, strike the bell, summon all disciples of the Taishu sect above the Foundation establishment stage. Yes. Yipingxing cupped his hands in greeting and then walked outside the Taishu temple. There is a large bell outside. This large bell also has an array imprint on it, so once it is struck, the sound can be heard throughout all the peaks of the Taishu sect. The meaning varies depending on the number of impacts. 5 strikes were merely a signal to summon Golden Core stage disciples. 7 impacts summoned disciples at the Golden Core and Foundation establishment stages. 9 strikes were made, summoning all inner disciples at the Golden Core, Foundation establishment, and Qi refining stages. This time, there were naturally 7 impacts. After the 7 calls, all the Foundation establishment disciples from the 10 peaks of the Taishu sect swept across the sky like locusts, arriving one by one on their swords. It landed on the square in an instant. Yipingxing's gaze swept over them. He saw his uncle Master Yu Xian, and he also saw his master Yu Ning. There are also Qian Xiaoqing, Shu Kunlun, and Zhao Linga. There are more than 100 Foundation establishment stage cultivators in total. Greetings, Uncle Master. Everyone cupped their hands and bowed to Yipingxing. Yipingxing felt a mix of amusement and disbelief, because he saw that his master, Yu Ning, had also bowed. This. How embarrassing. Come in, all of you. Yipingxing looked at everyone. The Supreme Elder wants you all to come into the temple, saying there are important matters to discuss. The crowd surged forward and entered the Taishu Divine Palace. More than 90% of them had never been to the Taishu Temple. What happened? Yu Ning, Shu Kunlun, and Zhao Linga asked somewhat nervously as they walked past Yipingxing. Yipingxing said, Ancestor has something important to announce, but don't worry, it's just some changes to the sect systems. Oh. The group nodded and breathed a sigh of relief. Everyone thought there was an attack from foreign enemies. The crowd slumped down on the black floor of the Taishu Temple. The 5 golden core cultivators above stopped being so loud and became respectful instead. There was no other way, even with outsiders present, one had to pretend to be a harmonious master and disciple. No need for formalities, I have 2 things to say. The Grand Ancestor Taishu looked at everyone calmly and said, First, from today onwards, the 10 peaks will be open to the outer sect. All outer sect disciples who have successfully entered the Qi refining stage and are able to reach the first level of the Qi refining stage can be accepted into the sect. Each Foundation establishment stage disciple can recruit a maximum of 50 personal disciples. The number must not be lower than 20. Each inner disciple, even those in the Qi refining stage, must be given 10 spirit stones as funds for cultivation. In addition, the sect's treasure hall will be opened, and all disciples can enter it for free to copy 1 cultivation technique and 2 supernatural abilities. Upon hearing this, the entire Taishu hall erupted in an uproar. The 5 golden core elders all had faces as black as the bottom of a pot. The old man had made the final decision. The resources that originally belonged to them would flow to their disciples. How could they not be ashamed? The grand ancestor Taishu waved his sleeve and continued, "The 10 peaks of the Taishu sect are too desolate, without a trace of human life. Let them all in. You foundation establishment stage disciples are all free to build palaces on the various mountain peaks without needing to report or obtain approval. This is the first thing." Ancestor Taishu held up 2 fingers. Second, strictly investigate any inner disciples who abuse their power. Once discovered, report it to the enforcement hall. Those with serious offenses will be executed on the spot, regardless of who they are or what their relationship or background is. Hong Lao, did you hear me? Elder Hong nodded respectfully. Yes, Master. All right, said the Grandmaster Taishu. That's all I have to say. You may all step down now. You can go down the mountain to take on disciples and go up to build your dojo. After saying that, the old ancestor waved his hand casually, as if to shoo everyone away. One by one, the foundation establishment stage disciples left in a flurry. In the vast Taishu hall, only the master and his disciples remained. The Grandmaster Taishu glanced at his disciples and said, "Over the years, you few have squandered all the sect's resources. I've turned a blind eye and never questioned you. But what was the result? You keep all the cultivation resources in your own hands, not a single one flows out. This has led to the fact that my vast Taishu sect has no successors. To expect you to carry forward and glorify the Taishu sect is a joke." The Grand Ancestor Taishu stood up from his seat, and in an instant, a magnificent pressure enveloped the entire hall. Even Wu Wei and Hong Lao were trembling under the oppressive force. The old man, who hadn't used his supernatural powers for centuries and whom everyone thought was weak and easily bullied, revealed his terrifying side once again. His gaze swept slowly over the crowd like a blade, and his voice was no longer hoarse. "You've all eaten enough over the years. If anyone dares to embezzle funds again, they will be the root of my Taishu sect. Since you've severed my manhood, I won't hold back. Even if it's my own son, I can slap him to death." Chapter 157. Knowing one's fate. This disciple supports you. Unexpectedly, Wu Wei was the first to stand up and express his support. This can also be understood from the perspective of non-action. Wu Wei, just as Taishu said, he had eaten enough over the years, and since his lifespan was almost over, external possessions were no longer of any use. What he was pursuing was nothing more than the great mystery scripture of the void. This disciple supports you. This disciple supports you. Upon hearing this, the other disciples naturally expressed their support as well. Grandmaster Taishu nodded. Who? He exhaled deeply, and the immense pressure in the hall instantly disappeared. He turned back into that old man. These days, I am gradually coming to understand the meaning of fate. Upon hearing this, all the disciples were terrified. One by one, they raised their heads. Even He Pingsheng was somewhat surprised. What does it mean to know one's destiny? Cultivators who reach the golden core or nascent soul stages will suddenly have a sudden flash of insight at some point in the final stage of their lives, and will be able to clearly sense how many years of life they have left. This is what it means to know one's destiny. In other words, the Grandmaster Taishu already knows how many more years he has left to live. Moreover, it's an extremely accurate number. Master, Xianxia asked, trembling, "May I ask, Master?" He only said those few words before he dared not continue. Master. The other disciples also quickly knelt down and looked at Taishu. Taishu said, "Don't worry. I'm fine, I still have 60 years of life left." Cool. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. A cycle of 60 years, that's still 60 years to go. That's good, that's good. They can continue to live a carefree life for another 60 years. Master. The youngest disciple, Zhu, stood up and asked, "It is clear that within the next 60 years, no one from our Taishu sect will be able to reach the nascent soul stage. What should we do then? The beast-taming sect will not let us go. We have a deep-seated hatred for him." The Grand Ancestor Taishu nodded. Back then, I killed Xianxia of the beast taming sect, so I naturally know that I have a deep-seated hatred for them. However, you don't need to worry. I'd like to bring this up now. I plan to go into seclusion for the foreseeable future. Recover my cultivation and supernatural abilities. Rest assured, before I lie down, I will personally go to the beast-taming immortal sect and sever their nascent soul again. I will bear all the consequences. The disciples were overjoyed. If the old man is willing to kill the other party's nascent soul, that would be even better. Therefore, from now on, Ancestor Taishu looked at everyone and said, "You should not disturb me at Taishu sect. If I have any orders, I will have he boy carry the token and convey the decree. If you have any doubts, you don't need to tell me. Everything will wait until I emerge from seclusion. Do you understand?" The disciples below the steps looked at each other in bewilderment. Seclusion? Does it really need to take that long? However, since Master said that, it's understandable. Yes. The crowd bowed. As they bowed, they all glanced at He Pingxing. This kid's power will be extremely important in the future. Get out of here. Taishu waved his hand, looking exhausted. 5 golden core disciples walked out of the main hall one by one, and the array outside the main hall closed in turn. Defensive formations, divine suppressing formations, illusion formations. When the 5 turned around to look again, the enormous Taishu divine palace behind them had completely disappeared, leaving only an ordinary-looking plaza. This. Everyone was immediately shocked. If I want to pay my respects to my master in the future, I won't even be able to find a place to do so. This. Senior brother. Jianzhu walked up to Wu Wei with a look of amusement, and said indifferently, "Do you think Master might be using the excuse of going into seclusion to actually teach He Pingxing the Great Void Mystery Scripture?" Wu Wei's face instantly turned as black as the bottom of a pot. However, at this very moment, suddenly, a surge of spiritual energy condensed in the void, instantly transforming into a phantom palm that slapped hard across Jianzhu's left cheek. The slap was very slow. However, Jianzhu was unable to dodge, move, or even circulate the magic power within his body under this attack. Snap! The slap was loud. It seems ordinary. However, the next moment, Jianzhu suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and trembled as he asked, "Master, Master, why are you punishing me?" He stripped his disciple of a layer of cultivation. These words shocked everyone once again. That slap just now knocked away a layer of cultivation? This is terrifying. The group looked back, then one by one panicked and transformed into streaks of light, fleeing away. On either side of the massive main hall of the Taishu Temple, there is a side hall. These 2 side halls have now been flattened and hidden by the illusion array. Taishu Patriarch pulled He Pingxing to the left side hall, a place he had never been before. In the left side hall, there is a huge shelf with many books on it. There are also jade slips. There are also some materials. This way. The old man strolled slowly past the huge bookshelf, looked at a slightly smaller shelf behind it, and said, "Come and take a look." He Pingxing's gaze swept over. There were lots of bottles and jars on it. "These are all prepared for you." The old man waved. "My dear reader, there's more to, even more exciting content awaits." He Pingxing asked in surprise, "Me?" His gaze swept over the bottles and jars. Each bottle has a label on it. Spirit Gathering Pill, a 2nd grade pill, a primary auxiliary pill for foundation establishment stage cultivation. At a glance, there were dozens of bottles, all filled with Spirit Gathering Pills. Juyuan Pill, a 3rd grade pill, the most important auxiliary pill during the Golden Core stage of cultivation. There were dozens more bottles. Chaoyuan Pill, a pill needed when breaking through to the Golden Core realm at the 12th level of the Foundation Establishment stage. There was only 1 bottle, but the label on the bottle showed that there were 6 pills. Moreover, they are all of medium quality. From now on, when you cultivate, you'll consume these pills. The old man looked at the bottles and jars before him and introduced them one by one. First is the Spirit Gathering Pill. After you reach the 12th level of the foundation establishment stage, you can consume this origin convergence pill to break through to the golden core realm. After reaching the golden core realm, then consume the gathering yuan pill to further enhance your cultivation. There's no other way. If you want your 5-element spiritual root to grow, you can only take pills. Otherwise, relying solely on absorbing the spiritual energy between heaven and earth to improve your cultivation would be too slow. Unfortunately, I don't have all the pills I need here. Taishu sighed. Something very important is missing. He Pingxing asked, "May I ask, Master, what is missing?" Taishu said, "Without the breakthrough pill, after the golden core is perfected, one must undergo a breakthrough to transform the golden core into a nascent soul, and then one can enter the nascent soul realm. I won't be able to find this thing anytime soon. There's nothing I can do. When you reach the golden core stage and want to break through, you'll have to find it yourself. I really don't have the time or energy to help you look." Chapter 158 Invisibility Talisman. Time seemed to stand still at this moment. He Pingxing looked at the old man in front of him, the antique shelf, and the bottles and jars on it, and for a moment he felt dazed. The impressions and speculations that have been held for so long seemed to be wavering. However, after 3 breaths, he suddenly shook his head. Reality has returned to reality. This is the key to the left side hall. The old man handed He Pingxing a long, white jade plaque. This jade tablet can control the surrounding array, allowing him to enter the side hall on the left at any time. Take this jade slip. Taishu handed another crimson jade slip to He Pingxing. This contains a 3rd grade formation. I'm going to set up this 3rd grade grand formation in a while. You set it up, and I'll assist you. During this time, study it carefully and analyze it thoroughly. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Go. He Pingxing walked out of the Taishu Divine Palace with the jade slip in his hand. Because he was inside the illusion array, the scene he saw was completely different from the outside. In He Pingxing's eyes, nothing here had changed. After leaving the Taishu Divine Palace and returning to his own dojo on the right, He Pingxing took out the crimson jade slip and began to delve into it with his divine sense. The old man was right. A great formation is recorded here. The formation is called the 9-yang formation. After reading the description, I found that this formation is extremely young and powerful. As for its purpose, there's only one thing about it: it can dispel evil spirits. Why set this up? He Pingxing was completely baffled. But since the old man didn't say anything, there's no need to worry about it. We can just ask him when we're making the arrangements. Actually, the method of setting up the 9-yang formation is not difficult. He Pingxing learned about it in a few days. Before it was time to meet Taishu, He Pingxing received a message from Zhao Linga. That day, he left the Taishu Hall and transformed into a stream of light, heading towards Xiuzhu Peak. The Grand Ancestor of Taishu confined him, forbidding He Pingxing from leaving the Taishu sect. However, within the Taishu sect, he could still move freely among the 10 mountain peaks. A magnificent hall. He Pingxing looked up at the sign on the main hall, True Spirit Hall. This name. Since the Patriarch gave the order that all Foundation Establishment disciples could build their own halls, all the Foundation Establishment disciples on the mountain have started a frenzied construction project. Moreover, they were recruiting disciples like crazy. The gates of the True Spirit Palace opened, and Zhao Linga walked out. Behind her followed more than 20 disciples, both men and women. Come quickly. Zhao Linga waved to the disciples behind her and said, "Come and pay your respects to the ancestor." "Greetings, Master." Splash. The disciples behind them knelt on the ground one by one. Zhao Linga said, "This is Patriarch He, a direct disciple of the Supreme Elder, and of the same generation as my master's master." Upon hearing this, everyone became even more respectful. He Pingxing wore a wry smile. This generation is indeed quite advanced. All right, you can all leave now. Zhao Linga dismissed the disciples one by one. He Pingxing said, "It's only been a few days, and you've already found so many disciples." Zhao Linga said, "The ancestor said it must be at least 20, not lower than that number, and at most 50. He Pingxing asked, "How many did you recruit?" 33, I guess. He, junior brother, you don't know, this sect even offers rewards for recruiting disciples. In addition to the 20 disciples, for each additional disciple, you can receive 2 more spirit stones per month. Can you guess how much my salary is now? He Pingxing said, I can't guess. Zhao said, 100 yuan is fixed, and then there's a bonus of 26 yuan, making a total of 126 yuan each month. All right, hurry up and give me my things. He Pingxing wasn't interested in how many spirit stones she earned a month. He was interested in something else. There's news about Xiao Huizhu. She obtained the 100 hidden talisman. Zhao took out a talisman from her storage bag and said, "This is it." He Pingxing reached out and took it. Rank 3 talisman. Black. Holding it in your hand feels like holding a piece of jade. It has a very high quality feel. It doesn't look like a paper talisman. After obtaining the 100 concealment talisman, He Pingxing immediately put it into his storage bag. After exchanging a few words with Zhao, He Pingxing returned to his side hall. He sat cross-legged on the ground, his brows furrowing slightly. Based on He Pingxing's previous tests on the treasure basin, it can enhance all things, but its grade cannot be too high. No more than 2 floors. Back when he was in the qi refining stage, he could only enhance items of the 2nd rank at most. Grade 3 cannot be enhanced. This talisman is of the 3rd grade. Fortunately, He Pingxing's cultivation has now broken through from the qi refining stage to the foundation establishment stage. He himself doesn't know whether the treasure basin can enhance items of grade 3. That's something you could give a try. How can we put this thing into the treasure bowl? This is a problem. After all, he is now within the range of the ancestor's divine sense at all times. Once the treasure basin is used, who can guarantee that the ancestor will not discover it? Therefore, it is necessary to find a location that is as far away from the ancestor's divine thoughts as possible, and also to find the right time. He Pingxing had already come up with an idea in this regard. So when the sun was setting, He Pingxing arrived at a deep pool behind Jade Dragon Peak. Then he stripped off all his clothes and jumped into the water with a splash. Take a relaxing soak. Cool. He Pingxing lay in the pool with his eyes closed, and at the same time used his divine sense to communicate with the jade talisman in his storage bag. Using the power of divine thought as a guide, he threw the jade talisman into the treasure basin. The treasure bowl is also in the storage bag. Finally, He Pingxing moved the treasure basin and the jade talisman together into a treasure bag. The treasure bag is naturally also in the storage bag. So now the order is as follows. Inside the storage bag was a treasure bag, which contained a treasure basin, and inside the treasure basin was a 3rd grade, 100 concealment talisman. He Pingxing believed that since he was taking a bath n*ked here, the ancestor wouldn't be so lewd as to keep his divine sense on him. The only opportunity is when you're taking a shower. The best time to avoid the ancestor's divine thoughts. As for whether it can be avoided, that's up to fate. The next morning, before He Pingxing even got up, he secretly sent his divine sense deep into his storage bag. That single, 3rd grade jade talisman has now become 2. It's still black, but the quality has improved. Moreover, the 100 concealment talisman has also been transformed into the invisibility talisman. Item name: Invisibility Charm. Rank: Grade 3, top grade. Function: once activated, it allows a person to enter an invisible state, during which their figure and aura are not visible. He Pingxing was thrilled. Originally, he only hoped to conceal his aura so that the ancestor could not scan him with his divine sense. Now it's all gone, you can't even see their shape anymore. Brilliant. Very good. Chapter 159. Terrified. The awkward thing is that He Pingxing only knows that the talisman has extraordinary functions, but he doesn't know how powerful a cultivator must be to use it. After becoming invisible, will the Grandmaster Taishu still be able to see him? Have no idea. Who? He Pingxing let out a deep breath, a resolute look in his eyes. At present, he has no other choice. There's only one. Therefore, he was determined to give it a try no matter what. As for when to leave, we will have to find a suitable time. Ideally, it would be best to wait until the ancestor is busy with other matters and has no time to spare. He Pingxing took out the jade slip containing the 9-yang formation and continued to study it. After all, we still have to deliver results in a few days. Take your time to find an escape opportunity. No rush. Several days later, inside the Taishu Divine Palace, Grandmaster Taishu laughed heartily. Ha 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 ha. Not bad, not bad. You succeeded on the first try? You're definitely a genius at formations. Hehehe. He Pingxing also looked pleased. He looked at the enormous formation before him and nodded in satisfaction. 9-yang formation. The 9-yang formation requires 9 formation plates. The 9 array plates vary in complexity. He Pingxing made 5 simple ones, while the ancestor personally made 4 more complex ones. Then the 9 array plates were combined together, and spirit stones, array flags, and other items were arranged. Only today was the 9-yang grand array successfully set up. Although you can't set up a 3rd grade formation yet. Ancestor Taishu looked at He Pingxing with satisfaction and said happily, "Your talent is extremely terrifying, much stronger than mine back then. We just need 2 more years of honing our skills." No. The patriarch immediately overturned his previous statement and changed his words, saying, 1 year. Within just 1 year, you can easily set up a 3rd grade formation. But the prerequisite is that you need to further enhance your divine sense. Your current divine sense strength is slightly insufficient. He Pingxing cupped his hands in greeting. This disciple will immediately go into seclusion after returning. No rush. Ancestor Taishu waved his hand. Another formation needs to be set up within this 9-yang formation. After the 3rd grade 9-yang grand array was activated, it formed a golden light membrane. The light membrane, shaped like a hemisphere, was placed upside down on the open ground in the middle of the temple. It almost filled the middle of the temple. The two stood within this great formation, appearing as insignificant as ants. He Pingxing asked somewhat nervously, "Master, what other formations do we need?" The old man took out a piece of paper. That's right, this time it wasn't a jade slip, it was just a piece of paper. The paper was large and laid flat on the ground. The paper was covered with countless symbols, but at first glance, you could see 2 circles, one large and one small. The 2 circles together look like a gourd. He Pingxing asked curiously, "Master, what kind of formation is this?" The Grandmaster Taishu smiled and said, "Don't ask yet. This formation is also a 3rd grade formation, but it is much more complex than the 9-yang formation. You couldn't set it up even in 10 years on your own. See this big circle? 36 array plates will be made inside this. This small circle only requires 9 array plates. We'll be working together again this time." Oh. He Pingxing said, "You mean, you take the big round one and I'll take the small round one?" "You're wrong." Taishu said, "You can't even make a small circular array plate. These array plates are biased towards the yin attribute. I'll make them. You are in charge of making the 81 array flags surrounding this area." As the old man spoke, he took out a cyan jade slip and handed it to He Pingxing. "This jade slip contains the method for making array flags. You should study it carefully when you get back. Time is running out. Let's try to perfect this formation within a month. Go." We're back in the side hall. He Pingxing sat cross-legged on a pink futon, his brows slightly furrowed. He stretched out his finger and drew an empty circle on the ground. Then, another circle appeared. 2 circles, one large and one small, looked just like a gourd. That's strange. He Pingxing frowned even more deeply. It seems like I've seen this array diagram somewhere before. This formation is a bit strange. As he muttered to himself, he waved his hand and took out 2 jade slips from his storage bag. Many years ago, after He Pingxing killed Yu De, the senior disciple of Home de Garden, he found a jade slip called Tracing the Origins of Dugu Formation in Yu De's storage bag. Later, after He Pingxing enhanced the array jade slip, it became 2. One is a rank 3 array, and the other is a collection of 10,000 arrays. He Pingxing had never tried to comprehend these two things. He only looked at them once after the initial strengthening. This strange gourd-shaped formation should be one of these two. But he couldn't quite remember which one it was. I want to see what this thing is all about. He Pingxing took a deep breath and picked up the jade slip containing the rank 3 array, and placed it on his forehead. He swept his divine sense over it. Without thinking or trying to recall, He Pingxing spent the time it takes for an incense stick to burn just by quickly scanning through the pages. No. This formation is not included in the third rank formation. Then go check out the myriad arrays collection. He Pingxing then began to scan the second jade slip. After about half an incense stick's time, his body trembled. I saw it. A gourd-shaped formation. 2 circles. 1 large circle and 1 small circle. Although there are many differences in the details compared to the ancestors' array diagram, they are almost identical in appearance. After seeing the array diagram, He Pingxing couldn't help but turn his attention to the name of the array. The name is very long, reversing the roles of guest and host, inverting yin and yang, and shifting souls. Just by looking at the name, you can't tell what it's all about. He Pingxing's divine sense swept over the general outline of the formation again. Upon reading the general outline, he was immediately horrified. The general outline is a lengthy 300 words, but it only talks about one thing: possession. What do you mean by turning the tables? What do you mean by reversing yin and yang? They all wanted to use their own souls to occupy the other person's body. Holy crap! Holy crap! Holy crap! Holy crap! He Pingxing was so frightened that he almost peed himself. Is this some kind of scheme where I set up a formation so they can possess my body? Digging your own grave? How vicious! As for why the old man's possession formation was different from the possession formation in the 10,000 formations collection, He Pingxing thought that was perfectly normal. Because this myriad array collection has been enhanced. All the formations inside should be improved versions of the original ones. Since it has been improved, it is naturally different. Huff, huff, huff. He Pingxing was covered in cold sweat, and his hand holding the 10,000 array collection was trembling slightly. What to do? That damned old man, he's been plotting against me all along. I had originally harbored the delusional thought that he genuinely wanted to take me as his disciple, but alas, it was all just a delusion. They must have taken a liking to my 5 elements spiritual roots. It must be. He Pingxing put the 10,000 arrays collection into his storage bag, then lay down on the futon, almost collapsing from exhaustion. It took him a full half hour to calm down from that extreme fear. Now that we know the other party wants to possess our body. So, what should we do? Chapter 160 Escape. After calming down, I understood many things. For example, why did the old man set up the 9-yang formation a while ago? He Pingxing didn't know this before. But now, he has some guesses. The 9-yang formation can dispel evil spirits. This is what the old man himself said. Then the question arises, such a large Taishu temple has been in use for hundreds of years. When has it ever been haunted by evil spirits? Where are the evil spirits? Why do we need to dispel evil spirits? So that's where it was. Possession. Possession is an evil act, and if it is not stopped, the yin energy will rush straight out from the Taishu divine palace. At that time, all the disciples of the Taishu sect will know that the ancestor is possessing another's body. How bad is this impact? Now, with the 9-yang formation, all the dissipated yin energy will disappear. So that's what the 9-yang formation is for. Besides, in the side hall on the left, the old man had prepared all kinds of pills, from foundation establishment stage to nascent soul stage, except for the breakthrough pill, everything else was available. I originally thought it was really prepared for He Pingxing. Now it seems that's not true at all. It was prepared for him. Why? Because after the ancestor possesses my body, his cultivation will inherit my He Pingxing's cultivation, and he will only be at the first level of the foundation establishment stage. And since I possess the 5 elements of spiritual root, my cultivation must rely on elixirs. That's why he prepared so many pills. That old geezer. Damn it. He kept proclaiming his benevolence and morality, refusing to possess anyone or pass on the terrifying great mystery scripture of the great void to his son. No wonder he didn't pass it on to his biological son. So it turns out I was the one who was going to do this wicked thing. Oh, right. This old man must have mastered the great void mystery scripture, but he doesn't have the 5-element spiritual root, so how could he have mastered this great mystery scripture? He Pingxing remembered that he had said before that if a cultivator who did not have the 5-element spiritual roots wanted to master the great profound scripture, he had to devour the spiritual roots of a cultivator with the 5-element spiritual roots. In other words, this old thing once devoured someone else's spiritual root. He was never a good person. Walk. Escape. We must escape. And it needs to be done as soon as possible. But here's the problem. How do we escape? He Pingxing lay on his prayer mat and began to think carefully. We cannot blindly flee. If you panic and run away, wouldn't that be like a lamb entering a tiger's den? The terrifying power of a nascent soul stage cultivator is beyond what others can imagine. A detailed plan is necessary. He Pingxing closed his eyes and began to think carefully. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. After thinking for 3 whole days, He Pingxing came up with a plan that could be described as perfect. He walked out of the main hall and transformed into a stream of light, landing on Xiaozhu Peak. It's the spirit hall again. Junior brother, what's the matter? Tell me quickly, I'm so anxious. Zhao Linga was impatient when she heard He Pingxing say it was something life-threatening. He Pingxing didn't reveal anything, but simply said, "Go and call Shu Kunlun over, and I'll talk about this later." Good. Zhao Linga ran out again and summoned Shu Kunlun to the True Spirit Hall. They closed the doors of the main hall and activated all the protective formations. Senior brothers and sisters, I'm in mortal danger and I've come to you for help. Don't ask me why. Just do as I say. Afternoon. He Pingxing arrived at the main hall of the Taoist Wu Wei. You're quite a rare guest. Wu Wei Daoist stared at He Pingxing, a cold smile appearing on his face. The old man is in seclusion. What kind of decree did he send you to deliver to me? Go ahead and say it. Does this mean I should kill myself? A faint killing intent flickered around Wu Wei. He Pingxing smiled and said, he is not in seclusion. What? Wu Wei asked, if he's not in seclusion, then what is he doing? I don't know. He Pingxing said, he set up a huge formation in the Taishu Divine Palace. I don't know what he's going to do. However, I feel it has absolutely nothing to do with seclusion. Wu Wei narrowed his eyes slightly and asked, why are you telling me all this? He Pingxing said, because you're afraid the old man will pass on the great mystery scripture of the great void to me, but actually I'm afraid too. To be honest, I don't want to fix that thing. Why? Asked Wu Wei Dao. That's something everyone dreams of. Once you cultivate it, you'll be invincible. My father wasn't even a true 5-element spiritual root, yet he was already invincible throughout the Dao Shen Alliance. If you take this course, your future will be limitless. He Pingxing shook his head and said, that's exactly what I'm worried about. He passed this on to me. After he leaves, you'll definitely kill me the first thing you do. Is that right? He Pingxing looked at Wu Wei with cold eyes. Wu Wei laughed heartily. Looks like you're not so kind after all. You're quite clever. He Pingxing said, that's why I don't want to die. This is the key to enter the Taishu Divine Palace. Go in yourself and talk to the old man. Just say that I gave up willingly. Wu Wei stared at the several plaques in He Pingxing's hand and said, you're not lying to me, are you? He Pingxing said, what could I possibly be lying to you about? My dear reader, there's more to, even more exciting content awaits. You tricked me into entering the Taishu Divine Palace so that the old man could kill you. Will the old man kill you? You don't even have this much courage, do you? Ha ha ha. Wu Wei laughed loudly. Is there anything I wouldn't dare to do? He Pingxing, just wait. If things succeed, I'll let you continue to be the little patriarch of the Taishu sect. Let's go. Wu Wei took the key to enter and exit the Taishu temple, transformed into a beam of light, and landed on the square in front of the Taishu temple. Meanwhile, Pingxing had already flown away on his sword, then casually landed on a mountaintop, took out the invisibility talisman, and slapped it onto himself. Motionless. His entire being vanished into nothingness in an instant. Then it's just a matter of waiting. Wait patiently. Waiting for news. Pingxing had predicted that the news would arrive in half an hour, but he did not expect it to arrive so quickly. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, a beam of light landed in front of him. The message was sent by Shu Kunlun, and it contained only one sentence: "I saw the ancestor." Who? Pingxing took a deep breath, then leaped up and jumped from the nameless mountain into the abyss. He then flew on his sword in the opposite direction from Shu Kunlun. He flew at a very low altitude, almost skimming the mountains. In this way, it won't attract anyone's attention. When they reached a distance of about 50 miles from the Taishu sect, Pingxing abandoned his sword flight and directly took out a cyan flying boat with a flick of his wrist, the cloud-piercing boat. Click. Click, click. He embedded 5 spirit stones into the spirit stone slots of the cloud-piercing boat. They're all mid-grade spirit stones. Then the cloud-piercing boat took off at an unparalleled speed, flying farther and farther away. After flying for half a day, and considering that they must be tens of thousands of miles away from Taishu sect, Pingxing finally breathed a sigh of relief. The old man didn't chase after us. Perfect plan. Escape was a success.